So there's a reason I've decided to put this as a title to do with like GTA having a break from it or something. Now the thing I can apparently say is it's what happened last night. Because like if you're getting spending into something too much, it can cause a mental breakdown in some people, but not everyone. Um, so last night there was an argument in party. Um, as I can remember, it's not good to argue. I know that. But my sister does have autism. Um, she actually has it worse than me. And such. And the whole thing was about. It was basically about GTA 5 in general, bugs. Um, like GTA 5 having bugs. And such. That's the whole argument, apparently. Because I had to basically tell, Chris all the bugs that are in the game. But he he didn't have it. He didn't want nothing to do with it. He apparently tried to argue with it, and said there's nothing wrong with the game, even though there is. I also tried to get in and list the amount of bugs as well, so it's kind of like a three-way argument. Yeah. So partly it just went on or whatever, but it basically got worse because my sister, my sister has it worse than me, with autism. So she argues and argues and argues, and it just gets worse. That's what happened apparently with Kyler and Chris mainly. And I was stuck in the middle, and I was like, Christ, this is a lot of argument over a game. Yeah, that's apparently what happened. So I had to put it out there. Yeah, so apparently it all started with the facility argument. That's what it started with. So apparently what happened was they were on about the cut in the facility, like when you do like the final heist being glitchy or whatever. Chris didn't agree with it. Carla apparently on the other hand actually did put the cut up or whatever. But it looked glitchy to her. Meaning nobody got that extra cut or whatever. So that's the whole. That's where it all started. The argument. That's where it got worse, and where eventually it turned out into, oh, there's nothing wrong with GTA 5. With the bugs and whatever. Even though there is. Because so far I've had the sitting glitch. I've been stuck to it. Another one is apparently the bed. Apparently, because sometimes when you apparently spawn, it apparently doesn't have the option to actually, get out of bed. Because it has the option to get into bed. So apparently that's a problem. So you apparently get into bed, and then you have to exit to get out of the bed. Which is a pain in the ass. And then you've got like glitchy floors. That's another one. Glitchy NPCs and whatever. They're a problem, by the way. Glitchy buildings. Popping out of nowhere. That's another one. Yeah. So there's also bugs with the DeLorean when you're flying it. Sometimes when you're apparently trying to land, it goes like it goes in a direction where it apparently sticks with its backside in the air. If you know what I mean. It kind of like basically just points downwards. Like the Titanic in a way. It points like that with its ass in the air. That's what happens to my DeLorean sometimes, which apparently is a bug, which shouldn't really happen. But it does. Yeah, so that's a bug. There's a lot. Yeah, so there is a ton of bugs, and such. Yeah. So probably there is some that I probably haven't named, but there is a ton in there. There's errors and all sorts. That's the one. Kicked out the servers or whatever. Especially if you're in the same server already during a mission, you get kicked out of it or whatever, and you end up in a different session altogether. Again, that's a bug. It shouldn't really happen, but it does. Meaning, you're really supposed to stay in the same session instead of in a different session. Because it's just plain out weird. It's just stupid. Yeah, so there's that problem. Yeah, so partly from what happened last night with the whole argument thing, well, partly from what happened was Chris left party. I got worried. Really, 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 really worried. I tried messaging him that, if he was okay or whatever, and such. I was actually chatting in party for a while, with Kala because we were also worried, about why Chris went off early. He didn't tell any of us why he went off. Um, so, so apparently I told Chris that, we'd watch something and then go to bed and then probably play tomorrow, which would be today. But there's no word. It usually comes on about sometime in the morning or sometime in the afternoon. After dinner usually, but there's no word so far. Nothing yet. I don't know why. So yeah. So apparently, I actually watched the Monsters Inc. TV series last night because apparently I kind of felt bad. You know what I mean? I felt down. So that lifted my spirits up a bit, but not that much. So I watched a couple of episodes and whatever, and then apparently it was time for bed for me. So the problem was I just couldn't sleep last night. I couldn't. Um, I tried. I tried and tried and tried. I tried tossing and turning, and I just couldn't sleep. It was hard. Because I was thinking, the whole problem was because of what happened last night. Um, that's why I couldn't sleep last night. Um, because I was worried about Chris. That's what kept me up. Um, a lot. Even though I tried not to think about it, I still couldn't sleep. Um, so I tried a bit of karaoke on YouTube or whatever, but that didn't help, unfortunately. Um, Apparently singing along to YouTube music or whatever also didn't help. Watching a bit of videos again didn't help. So the next thing I did, I went downstairs, got a cup of tea, drank it and whatever. Played a bit of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, which I think sort of worked for me. Because it was around 2 a.m. in the morning by the time I went to sleep. So eventually I did actually go to sleep because of that, which calmed me down. But today I am worried still. I am worried about Chris. I am. I do know he's got some sort of depression. I actually can understand that. But the problem with me is even though I have mild autism, I do intend to worry. I do. I worry about a lot of things. I worry about things that happen. Because when something happens, it makes me feel down. It makes me more emotional. It makes me want to. It makes me basically think of things that I regret. Because there's a lot of things I think of, like bits of it is usually suicide. I don't know why, but it's just in there in my mind sometimes. I don't think of it every day, but I do think of it sometimes. Which is one. Um, there's like a number of other things I think of. Like I do think about the planet a lot more. I think about a lot of things, and whenever I do stuff that depression has, some things that depression, I also do wonder if I actually have depression myself. I do wonder it. Um, Even though I'm not entirely sure what type I have, because usually I feel down. Um, Even though I try to lift up with happiness, I still sort of feel down. Depending on what happens. Like if something happens, I feel down. If something actually bad happens, again, I feel down because I feel all that emotion, and when there's nowhere else for it to go, I just burst out. Yeah, I just burst out with it. Because usually with that sort of emotion, I I intend to do something else. Um, that's usually the point on when that happens. Um, it's kind of like it's kind of like well, I'm currently gonna say it's kind of like, except it's well, kind of like what happened with Lamar, except Lamar didn't really mean it with his, but with Chris, I don't know. He does. It's actually rare for him to have these outbursts. But I understand he's taking drugs for it, for his depression or whatever. And then I actually reckon he probably doesn't mean it. But I don't know. I'm hoping he's alright. I hope he calms down. I hope he partly thinks of something. I really do. I mean, I don't want him to feel like down either. I don't want him to feel down because of a silly argument. I mean, come on, it's just GTA 5. Um, and apparently it's just partly about the bugs in the game, which most people have went through. I mean, it's just a game. So I don't like seeing people argue over something. When it's like that. I just don't like the whole argument of like arguing over GEA 5. It just feels wrong because it goes too far. Usually, and yeah. So apparently all that happened last night. And usually every day he says either morning or afternoon, but up to now nothing. I'm guessing he's probably still asleep, but basically hours later, if he doesn't say a thing, then I'm really worried. Yeah. Um, that is basically why I tend to worry, because if things basically go on for too long, I really start worrying, and yeah, so that point, I just don't know what to do. Yeah. So I think everyone needs a break from GTA 5 the way this is going. I think, I mean, because apparently my mate has got the quarry coming today, for him. So maybe that's something everyone else can play, as a break, because that's a break from GTA 5 for a couple of days. And then when we feel like we want to go back to it, then we go back to GTA 5 when like when we're all when he's all calmed down. For that. So I think that would be best. I think, at least then it's talking about something else. Um, so yeah, so yeah, so apparently I would um apparently I'm thinking that I think I might have to see a doctor about mine and see if I do have depression or not, to see what type I would have, because I do intend to do a lot of things that I regret. I usually feel down because of certain actions happening or whatever, or I just feel like, like when you go through a routine or something like that, or something that lets you down or whatever. It's usually what happens with me sometimes. Well, not always, but yeah. Sometimes I feel like that, so yeah. I do know I don't actually want to part ways with Chris because me and Cal probably knew him for a long time now. So we can't really part with him. So we can't really move on from him. That's the problem with us. We just can't. We just have to keep going, no matter how hard it gets, or whatever. So we just continue to roll with it. Yeah, because we see him as a best friend, but we know he has problems. We know that. We know he actually does have issues, but we still go with it. No matter how difficult it is, even if we apparently get outbursts thrown at us, even so, we'd still cope with it. Still go along with it and apparently try to get through it. Um, so yeah. So partly that's what we'd probably still do with him. Still actually try to get him to feel alright and feel safe and whatever and feel calm down. We usually give him a break to calm down. Like we don't pressure him or whatever, so he probably has time to calm down. And then when he does, then he comes back and says something. Um, when he's ready. Uh, so um, so yeah, I'm hoping he actually says something eventually. Uh, yeah, and I'm hoping he doesn't really have another outburst because it just feels silly to, like I said, it's silly to argue over a GTA 5 bugs. It's just stupid. Especially when some people are right about it. I mean, they apparently tell the truth about it. Like the game does have bugs. If it didn't, apparently it wouldn't be owned by Rockstar. So there you go. Um, yeah. So apparently I think that's all I've got to say about the matter. And such. So there's that. Um, so yeah. So apparently everyone needs a break now and again from something. Uh, even if it gets bad. Uh, yeah. Yeah, so apparently that's all I've got to say right now. So at least now you understand the whole matter and what happened last night. But really, that's the whole matter last night. So now you know what the matter is and such. So then you know. Yeah. So at least now you know apparently what happened last night and what made me want to sleep less and whatever. That was the reason. So if you haven't watched the rest of the live stream from the beginning, then I'd recommend watching it from the beginning to understand what went down with Kyler and Chris last night. So there you go. Yeah. So yeah.